And now your host, Shelly Sanders.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Conversations with Shelly. Good afternoon, Facebook fam. My name is Michelle Sanders, and I'm your host for today's conversation. Now, how is everybody doing on this beautiful Sunday afternoon? I tell you what, I am feeling good here in Progress Village in Tampa Bay, Florida, because guys, guess what? Whoop! I don't know about you guys, but maybe like the Cowboy fans or the Cowgirls, since my brothers, they are famous Cowgirl fans, they are not in the Super Bowl, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are in the Super Bowl. They won the NFC champions, yay! And guess what, guys? Next week, we are playing in the Super Bowl. Made history. Yes, we did. We made history. The host team in the Super Bowl. Yes. And we're excited because we look forward to winning that trophy and stomping the Chiefs. Yes, I said it. So, guys, welcome again to Conversation with Shelly. I'm sorry. I'm excited. I had to get that out. I got to brag on my team. Yes. I just had to brag on the team. Don't hate, all right, y'all. Don't hate just because your team didn't make it. Don't hate now. Be nice. All right, guys. So welcome. I'm so glad that you guys have joined us this afternoon. And one of the things that I like to say is like and share and like. So just make sure you go out and share this conversation on your Facebook page, on your Instagram, on TikTok, on all your social media platforms so people can hear today. Because, guys, we have a show for you. Yes, we do. Now, I tell you, we have been talking about money matters, right? And that's a subject in a series that we're going to continue. But today we're going to take a little bit of a detour. And the reason we're taking a detour is because the end of last year and also for the new episodes that we've had this year, it's all been about authors, right? Our author series. Everyone that we've had on the show for the last, I think, like 2 months have been authors. And so given that, I wanted to bring an expert to you today who knows about writing books, right? Kimmy, I call her from North Carolina. That's my girlfriend from North Carolina. Is going to be here with us today to share her expertise. And we're going to talk because we're friends like that. We have known each other for some decades. And I tell you, my sister has held me down. And I'm so thankful to God that I have an opportunity to share this platform with her today so she can come and share about her life things that she wants to share, but about her skill and her gifting as far as writing. I tell you guys, you are in for a treat. She is not only the owner of her publication company, but she is also an author herself in her own right. I'm telling you, the girl is bad. So with that, Facebook fam, you know how I like to do. Yes. So I'm going to do a quick introduction so you can get some understanding of who we have on this call today. And then from there, I'm going to bring in Miss Kimberly Cousins, okay? So listen for a little bit here. Kimberly Cousins is the owner of Right Touch Publication, and that is the title of our show today. You got the what? Right touch. And you got the right touch because you got the right person on to talk to you about the right touch. So you can have some wrong touches, but we're not talking about today. We're going to talk about the right touch as it relates to being able to write books, okay? So Kimberly Cousin, owner of Right Touch Publication, LLC, is an accomplished ghostwriter with over 20 years experience in the writing and publishing industry. With the stroke of the pen and a passion to reveal stories untold, she has gained notable clientele for her ability to maintain the author's unique voice, while simultaneously unraveling a story of truth with flair, integrity, and authenticity. Whether it's memoirs, self-help, or inspirational genre, you've probably read some of the awe-inspiring stories that have contributed to her career and passion to continue revealing stories for both seasoned and new clientele. She reveals, I love living vicariously through the beautiful lives of those I meet around the world. They remain the impetus to my constant evolution. Her company, Right Touch Publications, continues to write, edit, and offer professional consultation to busy authors who have a burning desire to share their experiences, inspire, and ignite a movement one book at a time. And so, Facebook fam, you will be able to see in a few minutes our guest, Kimberly Cousins, but also I'm sure that our production team will also be sharing her information so you can be able to reach out to Kimmy. So let's see. Kimmy, are you out there? Kimmy, are you out there? Can I hear you, Kimmy?
I'm here. Hey, everybody. Hello.
Yeah, Kim, say hello to our Facebook fam.
Hello, Facebook. Thanks so much for logging in us today. I am so excited because everyone has been asking me this question: how to write a book.
How to write a book. So, Kimmy, so I read some stuff about your background and that excellent, excellent background. But tell us a little bit more about you now. I hear you have a little grandbaby. Well, grandbaby that you spoil. Talk to us
Yes,
a little
I do.
about the grandbaby.
Yes, I do. I enjoy spoiling and then sending back home to his parents. Yeah, I do.
So
I enjoy that.
that's the good part. They say you can spoil them and send them back, right?
Yes, yes, yes. I love it.
Good stuff. And you have two boys, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I have two boys.
Yeah.
I do, and they're grown. So yeah, I get to spoil and play with the grandbaby now. Yeah.
All right, Kimmy. So listen, honey.
Yeah.
So yeah, Kimmy, can you speak up a little bit, or maybe you might need to turn your volume up or something like that. But yeah.
Okay. Is that better? Can you guys hear me better?
Can you guys hear it better? Let us know. But
Okay.
all right. So Kimmy, here in Florida, we're in the Sunshine State, you know. So I was rolling in Durham, North Carolina for a while myself. That's my second home, right?
What?
So what's the weather? Is it snowing there? Because I think it was some snow the last couple of days, right?
No, bite your tongue. I don't want any more snow. No, it's not snow. We had a little bit of snow a few days ago. But
Yeah.
It didn't stick around. It did not stick around. No.
Okay, good, good. So none of that ice and stuff, you know, in Durham, you know, it's interesting. You have all that ice and stuff sliding all around. So that stuff I never liked at all.
Yeah, yeah. But let me not speak too soon. I think we might have another little wintry mix coming. So,
Here.
yeah.
All right, Kimmy, so let's get into it. So let's talk about it, because that's what we do in Conversations with Shelly. And honey, you know, we got a lot of other things that we can talk about, but we're going to stay focused,
Okay.
and we're going to talk about, it. And we're going to talk about how to write a book. So you put together an awesome presentation. And so what I want to go ahead and do is share that on screen with the with Facebook fam. So then we can move forward and share exactly. I'm going to put it in like pre-zo mode here. And then hopefully if I can share it, you'll be able to see it, Facebook fam. So let me know. All right. So I'm sharing it. Can you guys see what I'm sharing on screen? Can you see what I'm sharing on screen? And so, Kimmy, just make sure you might want to turn your volume up a little bit more. Kim, if you can see what I'm sharing on screen, then we can go ahead and start How to Write a Book, Part 1.
Okay. I can see it.
All right. So, Right Touch Publication. First of all, before we get in there, tell us about Right Touch Publication. What made you start your business as far as a publication business?
Well, I've always enjoyed reading books and writing in journals and things like that. So when I was offered the opportunity to write books for other people, I kind of jumped in there and just began honing my skills throughout the years. And it's just me just basically doing something that I love to do anyway. I was able to start making a living off of just basically doing something that I love to do anyway. I've always done that. And so that was the birth of Right Touch Publications. Because, you know, a lot of people, they have a good message that they want to put out there. They just don't have the time to sit down and actually write the book. So that's how it kind of started with me, taking their message and putting it into book form for them.
So, Kimmy, I'm sorry, when you said that, it was a flashback that came. Now, I used to have a translation service, right, where I used to be able to type and transcribe from video, audio, you know, into text, right? And I remember you had contracted me out one time when we were at our previous church. You had contracted me. I was contracted out to help to do some transcription. And so I'm telling you, Kim, you are amazing. You have an amazing gift, because some of those audio tapes that I transcribed and you end up turning into books, I don't even know how you were able to do it, honey. And so, but Kimmy, do you remember the time that I was transcribing tongues?
Yes, and I said, Michelle, you don't have to really transcribe.
I was like, yabba dabba 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 do. Come outside, I want to see you. Coming on a Honda.
Oh, good.
Yeah, Kimmy, you were like, Michelle, no, you don't have to.
We got through it, though.
We did. We got through it. So awesome. So the reason I'm saying that is because, as you were saying, you know, you were talking about your passion and being able to listen to what somebody is saying in their heart, you know, even from the preaching, and be able to turn that in translate it into something that is so meaningful with the words and the language, and that's something that you do very, very well. So gifted in that area. So for those of us, I know I've written and had a book published myself, and I've written poetry throughout my young years as well. So talk to us now how to write a book. Let's get into this and talk to us a little bit about how to write a book.
Okay, so I always tell people that the first step is to you kind of figure out what you want to write about, like what topic do you want to write about. And I know people a lot of times they hate when you say, when they ask a question, how do you write a book, and someone says just write. But what they mean by that is, you know, just begin recording your thoughts. That'll kind of, you know, jar you into, you know, wanting to get into the habit of writing, because that's the biggest part of it. Is a lot of people say they don't have time, or you know, they're not in the mood to write, but they do want to write the book, but they just don't have the time or find the time to do it. So if you can just start by, you know, figuring out what your topic is, and then expounding on that, that's always the first step that I tell people to take, so it won't seem so overwhelming.
Right.
So did you want to go through a few of these steps I have here?
Oh, definitely, yes.
On this slide. So but the first one is raise, set, go, and I was just basically reiterating what I just said, to just go forth uninhibited. Don't overthink it. Sometimes we're trying to figure out the ending of the book before we even write the beginning. Mm-hmm. So you know, just baby steps. So basically that's what I was talking about there. And then the next step, I say, let's get organized. Mm-hmm. Basically, what is your book type? So I break down the definition of the difference between nonfiction and fiction, because sometimes people don't know the difference. Fiction in a nutshell is more based on real life and real life experiences, like, you know, memoirs are an example, things like that. Fiction is opposite, of course, of nonfiction. It's not a true story. Mm-hmm. Although sometimes it's, you know, occasionally people might sprinkle a little truth in there, but you know, they can't really say that's, you know,
they
true.
Can't.
But
hey, you mean to tell me that line in the book? Okay, let me stop.
So and then we kind of want to get into a little bit more detail, like what is your topic. And you know, I want to reiterate here, don't worry about trying to assign a title to the book, because many times that's where people get stuck, because they're trying to figure out, now what should I name this? Don't even worry about that. You know, you can, because to be honest with you, many times when we come up with a title, by the time we get to the end of the book, we've decided to rename the book something else anyway.
Yeah. Does it sound like does it go through like so many different variations or changes? So even what you probably thought you started out with, you probably modified along the way.
Yeah, and sometimes you just want to change the whole story altogether and go into a totally different direction. So, but you won't find it out until you start to actually write. So don't worry about what it sounds like. Just get the thoughts down on paper and record it so that you don't lose them first. So, but basically this is talking about, first of all, what message do you want to convey to the reader? Are you writing for entertainment? That's more on the line of fiction. Or are you writing because you want to convey a message? That's basically most of the things that I've written for many pastors and things like that who wanted to convey a message. But you might want to talk about your story, your life. I mean, I don't know. But you have to figure that out. And then the genre of your book. The genre will determine what section basically of the bookstore that your book is going to be placed. Okay. Nor the genre is more for marketing purposes than anything else, but it's still good to kind of have a general idea of what your genre is, and we'll break that down in the next slide, which is where
so with define the topic and genre. You want me to move on to the next one?
Yeah, you can go ahead to the next one.
Okay. It takes a little bit because it breaks down like the different genres. Okay.
Yeah. So this is just a diverse sample of a list of genres. No, no, in no way exhaustive, but like you'll see under nonfiction, it's memoirs, autobiography, things like that. And then under fiction is adventure, comedy, romance, sci-fi. The list goes on and on. So if you're kind of confused, you can kind of divert back to this list to kind of figure out, what your genre is going to be. Because especially if you're self-publishing and you're not going through um, a traditional publisher, you'll need to, when you're setting up your book on Amazon or whatever, you'll need to know the genre of your book.
I don't want to interrupt as we continue to go through,
interrupt.
but just the point I wanted to think we were talking about self-publishing. So I'm sure people would want to know there are some differences in self-publishing and going to a traditional. Can you talk about those two variations?
Sure. So self-publishing, I would say, like now, many people are loading their book themselves onto Amazon, and and I know now Barnes and Noble has like a self-publishing site. There are various ones that you can load the book onto yourself. A commercial publisher is when you're actually signed to a company and held to a somewhat strict contract. So those are the differences with that.
So I think
and the contracts are a little are different as well. With self-publishing, it's pretty much usually not a contract so much. I mean, of course, there are guidelines and things that you have to adhere to, but with just a traditional publisher, the guidelines and things are a little bit more stringent.
Yeah, I was going to say it's from a price point as well. As far as is it more economical to be a self-publisher versus going with one of the traditional publishing companies?
It depends on what you're looking for. If you're out there and you're able to get your message out there, you have a large audience, I would say go through a traditional publisher. I mean, self-publishing has its benefits in that, of course, your royalties, the money that you are able to retain is much more than going through a traditional publisher. However, traditional publisher has that machine behind them with the marketing, and you don't have to worry so much about doing everything yourself, loading the book onto sites and getting out there and pushing it, things like that. So it just really depends on what your need is and how large your audience is and your followers and things like that. And it's hard. It's not easy getting a book deal either. I will tell people that. Even for people who have a large following, sometimes it can still be challenging getting a book deal, which is why people often hire literary agents, because the agent will go out there and try to get the deal for you without you trying to do all the legwork yourself, because it's not an easy task.
Gotcha. So on this, this next slide where you have here like let's write. I know you shared about a little bit of nonfiction and fiction. So is there any other points you wanted to pull out from here, or did you want to move on and continue on with the next piece?
We can go to the next one.
All right, good stuff.
So, so in the previous slide, what I was basically doing was like kind of, what you want to do is jar your creative juices. And once you do that, then you can go back and once you do that and you write down, let's say your first paragraph, like if you're just writing down your thoughts, like why do I want to write this book? And you don't put in a paragraph why I want to write this book, but answer the question like why do I want to write this book? Answer questions like that in the first paragraph. And this is just a way to like kind of get your creative juices flowing so that you can actually begin the process of writing. And then you're going to write down some of the things that you want to cover in the book, because that's going to be your introductory paragraph. Don't worry about how it sounds again, but just jot those thoughts down. And then on the next slide, it says, so after you've answer those questions, then you can kind of combine all of those answers together, and congratulations, you've written your first paragraph.
Great.
Without even realizing it.
Wow.
Now, is it going to stay that way? Of course not.
So I saw on
It's
that
not.
on that previous slide, you were like, no, you couldn't do any revisions or edits yet at that point.
And which is the hardest thing to do because you will spend an hour trying to revise just the first paragraph to make it sound right instead of moving on. So you got to kind of resist that urge to do that, and then you go back because you'll be surprised how many times a person rewrites a book before they actually get to the final manuscript.
Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah. So the next slide, I just kind of gave an example of a book I wrote years ago called No, You're Not Crazy, Get Up and Get Your Happy Back. Oh, thank you.
Here, right here, Facebook fam, and I'm sure our production team is probably going to share it on the screen. But yes, if you can't see it, this is it. Have my copy.
Right. So I did the same thing. It says, what is your inspiration behind choosing this topic? I said to remind readers that even when we stand still, life continues to evolve to inspire those readers that happiness comes from within. The second question I answered is, what is the message that you intend to convey to your reader? Life events sometimes make us unhappy, and that is okay. It doesn't mean that something is wrong with us. The third question was, who is your target audience? Anyone whose past behavior has allowed their acceptance of unhappiness to become their norm.
So Kimmy, you going in there, I like to start delving into certain things because you brought up a couple of things right there. So I'm saying,
Okay.
Facebook fam, this book you need to order. No, you're not crazy. Get up and get your happy back, So I like that number 2, what you were saying as far as, this because things that happen and make us unhappy doesn't mean that, something's wrong with us, right? So I'm going to
Right.
keep it moving because we're going to come on second part and talk a little bit more about your book, okay?
Okay. And so what I did then, as I said, that was a short list of the raw thoughts I compiled before writing. I pasted the responses into a paragraph and rewrote it more than once. So, I mean, I literally, I know I rewrote it at least about 3 times. I don't know if you want me to read all that, but anyway.
Oh,
but
no, you don't have to.
Okay. But yeah, that's what I did with that. And so that's one of the exercises too that I, admonish writers and authors, especially if you're a first-time author, to do that in order to get the creative juices flowing, and then go back and rewrite it, until it's to your liking. The next is, don't be afraid to play, write without constriction. One of the reasons authors experience writer's block is because they focus too much on how the words sound while writing instead of conveying the message. Also be careful not to become so committed to the eloquence of a sentence that you refuse to get rid of it. If it doesn't fit, or if it is potentially confusing or ambiguous, rewrite it, place it elsewhere, or get rid of it. So sometimes we can write such a sentence that sounds so good, but if it's if it's not working, then go ahead, resist the urge of keeping it because it sounds so good, and just go ahead and take it out. You can place it somewhere else and just get rid of it altogether and rewrite it.
So it sounds like it's about the flow, right? That it has to be the right kind of flow.
Yeah, it's about the flow. It's not about using big words. It's about literally describing to the author the picture that you're trying to depict. Because you can have a picture in your head, but if you're not describing it, it's not going to come across to the reader. So
Right.
you got to be detailed and make them feel that they're actually sitting in the living room that you're talking about, or walking through the forest that you're describing,
Right.
things like that. Yeah.
Right.
So that's what I mean by that. And so next says, go back to your original paragraphs. How would you rewrite it? And so this is where you would go back to your original paragraph that we spoke about earlier. How would you rewrite it? How would you add to it? Does any part of it need clarification? Does it draw the reader's attention? Rewrite it now and compare it to the original draft. And of course, these slides are on my website as well. So the final suggestions: always be prepared to record your private thoughts. Inspiration will sneak up on you at the most unexpected times. So basically what I'm talking about here is, so let's say you decide, okay, in 2021, I'm going to go ahead and get this book finished. I'm going to start on it Monday at 12 noon at lunchtime. So usually, as soon as you say that, many times you just get bombarded by all these thoughts and ideas to put in the book. So to avoid losing those thoughts, go ahead and press, record on your recorder on your phone, or on your little notepad on your phone, or in your notebook, handwrite it, whatever, because we oftentimes lose valid thoughts because we'll say, "Oh, I'll wait till I get home and write it down." By that time, we've forgotten what it is. So.
So it's like capturing it in that moment. Yeah.
Yep. Capture it in that moment. And these are just some more suggestions that reiterate what I just said. Using your notes pad. If you're driving in a car, just press play on your recorder. And just talking to it while you're driving, hands free, of course. Lying in bed at night. Sometimes you'll get a dream or you get a thought. Roll over and just hit record real quick so that you won't lose it, or things like that. Just some little tricks of the trade.
I would say, Kimmy, it reminds me, I'm a singer, so my brother, my family's singer, so we do that a lot. It's like even in our family, in our group me, sometimes we will record a verse of something, or just a little piece, and send it around to the family and see what everybody has or what they think about it. And it's like at that moment, I know my brother Frederick has written a number of songs in that way, and even my nephews as well. And actually our the song for this show, Conversations with Shelly, that's how it came about, with just a little hook, that I came up with, Conversations with Shelly. And then I sent it to my brother and to our other production team member, Tina, and they came up with, the full flow of the song. Fred wrote the verses and everything, and we got it all together and recorded it just off of one little tune, Conversations with Shelly. That's all we had. Yeah, so it's like, capturing that.
Concept.
Yeah,
Yep.
Okay, good stuff.
Yep, same concept.
All righty. So this is our first part. We're bringing to a closed, Facebook fam. Gosh, we're at 5:38. And we're going to go into a quick break, Kimmy, but we're going to come back, and I want to talk a little bit about your book and some of the good yum stuff that's here in your book. But definitely, Facebook fam, definitely you're in for a treat here with Kimberly Cousin. I'm sorry. You guys can't call her Kimberly. I can. With Kimberly Cousin, owner-operator of Right Touch Publication. And with that, Kimberly, when we come back, I want you to tell Facebook fam basically your services and what you offer as far as, a writer, to those that's interested in reaching out to you to talk about this whole process and get their work published. So are we ready to go to our break? And I think when we go to our break, then we'll be able to come back. But right here, you guys have the introductory portion, how to write a book, www.writetouchpub.com. So, Kimmy, I'm so excited. I have really appreciated just you going over this first half here and going through how to write it. And I think you were saying on your page, right, you can go through and you actually have an audio recording. You have an audio recording that walks you through this this training, part one, right?
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
All right. So as we're waiting to go to break, one other thing, go ahead and share with us what services you offer as far as Right Touch Publications.
Of course, I still offer the ghostwriting services, and I also offer the one-on-one consultations for authors if they want me to sit with them for like an hour or so to go through a manuscript that they're working on to teach them how to make it better.
Okay. All right, Kimmy. So we'll come back and we'll start off with that when we take a break, Facebook fam. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. welcome back, Facebook fam. Welcome back to Conversations with Shelly. I'm so glad you guys have joined us this afternoon. Make sure you like and share. So we're at part 2, and we're having a great conversation. We have my girlfriend, Kimmy, from Durham, North Carolina, Kimberly Cousin, owner and operator of Right Touch Publication, and that is the title of our topic today, the right touch. And yes, you have the right touch because you have the person who has the expertise to talk to you about the right touch. That's Miss Kimberly Cousin. Kim, you out there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. So Facebook
Okay.
fam, look, the first part, we were actually went through some details about how to write a book. And again, as Kimberly mentioned, she has on her Facebook page, which I'm sure our production team will share, how to get to her Facebook page. And you can see also her website, and it has some instructional videos continually about this topic that we went over. So you'll be able to go back and look at that presentation and hear some of the thoughts that she had shared during that presentation. So this was a quick review today on the first half, but you can always go to her page and pull that up. And then, of course, you'll have Kimberly's contact information that you can reach out to her directly as far as being able to engage her services, right, Kimmy? So, again, we closed out there. So talk to us about the services that you do offer as far as Right Touch Publications.
I still offer the ghostwriting services. One of the things that I did add, because people were inquiring about it, was the one-on-one consultations where I can sit with you for an hour, so however much time that you require to go over a manuscript that you're working on or give you some writing ideas on how to make your book better.
Okay. Thank you, Kimmy. So we're going to move on this half and what we want to talk about. So we have the writer. We have the owner and operator of her own publication company, Right Touch. And we also have the author. So she's not only ghostwriting, but she also writes her own books. Duh, that would make sense, right? Of course. But Kimmy, I don't think this is your only book, but this is the one we're going to talk about today because I know you've done some collaborations as well, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, guys, this is the book we want to talk about a little bit. So I ordered this book. I read it, Kim, and we're going to talk about it when it first came out. No, You're Not Crazy. Get Up and Get Your Happy Back, Kimberly Cousin. So, Kimberly, tell us a little bit about, so for one second here, let me read this here. This is the back of it. We can all feel a little crazy sometimes, but when your anger drives you mad, you risk trekking a deep downward spiral that ends only in defeat. You can, however, be caught before you hit rock bottom. If you have ever felt as if life was simply driving you crazy or passing you by, you are not alone. But there is good news. You do not have to go through life feeling that way. You do not have to allow the trials of life to write your ending or steer the direction in which you sail. Break the many habits that you are unknowingly acting out due to erroneous thinking that hinders your understanding, growth, and potential. Explore the hardcore truths of how to get out of your own way and live. Find out who you really are by beginning to live according to your own path instead of the one that others have designed for you. Dare to distance yourself from doubt and believe that you are capable of actually achieving that dream that you've placed on the shelf. Today is the day that you no longer allow crazy thoughts, madness, or anger to distract you from living your own life. We only get one chance to live here on earth. We might as well enjoy the experience, and what better time to start than right now. Girl, let's start right now. Kim, that was powerful.
Yeah, I was going through a lot during that time. And as I got more clarity, I thought about how many other people could possibly be going through the same thing. And I realized it's really all about decisions, because when we make decisions when we're angry, we only cause more conflict to come upon us, because sometimes people, you know how when you're going through so many things at one time, you start to feel like, you know, is God mad at me? Is the universe, you know, giving me karma? You know, what is it? Because you're going through so many different things at one time. But it's not always that. Sometimes it's just due to bad decision making. We can correct those things. Sometimes, you know, it's our environment. We can correct those things. Sometimes we just need to wait on God. We can correct that too.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes we need to make some apologies. We can do that too. You know, but sometimes we just need to wait.
Wow.
So we just got to figure out what we need to do. It's all about finding a resolve instead of getting angry and lashing out and making even more bad decisions. So that's the message that I tried to convey in the book.
Wow. So let's talk about in that conveyance some of the title of these chapters, because I was like, woo, honey.
Okay.
So the first one is the body snatcher, and then the second one. So we'll kind of go back through some of these. Second chapter, what you get is what you see. Chapter 3, the therapeutic truth. 4, social media sticks and stones. 5, the invisibles. 6, fragments of your reflection. 7, chapter 7, don't get mad, get empowered. Chapter 8, your peace is worth protecting. Chapter 9, trouble but not destroyed. And then you close out with getting your happy back, and then some information about the author. So when I was going through this, and I like some of the things that you were saying, because it's about introspection, right? About looking inward and trying to figure out what's going on instead of outward. And whatever, because I do understand that people contribute, right, to certain things happening in your life, but we choose to decide how we respond to that.
That's right. We can't control what people. We can't always, I'll say, control what people do to us, but we can control how we react to it.
So one of the first part, the body snatchers, you were talking about a dream. Talk to us a little about a dream. You were talking about a dream and how you were waking and about being able to scurrying around. So talk to us a little bit about that dream and what happened and the kind of realization that came to you at that point.
Yeah, it was just, how you have one of those dreams and you wake up and you was like, oh man, that was just so realistic. What is that about? So it was just one of those dreams where I had where, like you said, it was the scurrying about, and then the man in the dream was like, why won't, why won't she just reach out, things like that. And so when I woke up, I was like, because the dream was so realistic, I was like, man, what is that about? And then I realized that did have a lot to do where I was at that point, because I'm always, one trying to figure it out my way. Like, come on, man, you can figure this out. I wasn't, asking God what His opinion was, or, what I should, not His opinion, but what I should do or whatever. I was just trying, just be a little busybody, trying to figure my way out of everything. I was driving myself crazy at the time. And so it's almost like, sometimes God will just sit there and say, okay, well, I'll just sit here until you get ready to get the right answer.
So I'm gonna wait. You got this, right? So he's like, okay, when you're done, then okay, I'll step in since you got this. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of those types of things. And so I just had to get to a place where I just sat down. Sometimes you have to just sit down and get still. And just give yourself some peace.
Yeah, one of the things I want to read here, you were talking about, you stated, I earnestly believe that as we grow older, and this is interesting because we can be so involved in many busy things in our lives, but also other people. As we grow older, we can become so consumed with the cares of others that we refuse to take care of ourselves. We become so busy scurrying to solve the problems of friends, loved ones, family, and strangers that we lay our own lives on the shelf. We promise to return to retrieve our lives later, but we really never do return to it. Where were you in that space when you shared that?
Yeah, because we can say to ourselves, I will do it tomorrow, and then tomorrow comes and we'll say, okay, well, let me wait till next week, and then we look up and 20 years has passed us by and we still have not completed our own goals and visions because we've been so busy helping to make others come true. The goals and visions of others come true. Especially, even as moms, when we become empty nesters, sometimes we can say, okay, well, what do I do now? I don't have any, basketball games I need to go to, because we haven't sat down and taken the time to take the classes that we wanted to take, to go after some of the dreams that we wanted to, because we're constantly putting others before our own needs.
Let me.
And
So
so,
when you were going back to that as far as putting others, which is interesting. When do you give, what do you have to do to get to that point where you give yourself permission just to go after your own, what I'm saying, your own dreams? Because a lot, and I'll say for myself, I've done this before when it comes to ministries and stuff, and given so much, right, of trying to build someone else, where I've just continued to put what my dreams, what thoughts and ideas and visions that God had given me, because I'm like, okay, this over here is like greater or bigger, and I didn't see what I had. I didn't value what God had given me, right? And it
yeah,
wasn't until somebody really had to, jerk, God spoke to someone to, that was way out of town to say something to me, and I finally broke down. I was like, okay, I got to be about what I need to do. And sometimes it's just that awakening that you're sitting trying to build something for everybody else, and you don't build what He's given you, because sometimes you think what you have is not valuable because of what somebody else said to you, right?
yes, that's correct. You
Yeah.
know, um, words can have a deeper impact than we are oftentimes willing to admit. And it's okay to do for others. Because I think that's what we were placed on this earth to do, was to help others. Um, but it gets to a point to where if you're constantly doing for others, and you're not pouring back into yourself, you're going to become empty. And then who's going to be there to pour into you to help refill you? And sometimes you have to refill. You have to refill yourself,
Yeah.
and that's not being selfish. So you just have to understand that thin line between um, between selfless and selfish. And once you have a greater understanding of that, then you don't have that guilt of what, I need to do this. This is something that I've always wanted to do. I want to go take this class because this is what I want to do in my career. And you shouldn't have to feel guilty about those things. A lot of times people think you have to do one thing or another. You have to like give, and not give to yourself, or the other side of the spectrum. You don't have to do that.
You were saying here, one of the things we've been talking about here at Conversations with Shelly, Kimmy, was money matters, right? And about securing your finances, about financing, having money, investing, retirement monies, accounts, things like that, right? Budgeting, etc. And that moves us into the area of, with investing, that possibility of moving into wealth. And one of the things you called out here, which I really appreciated, you were talking about here spreading the wealth, and that spread. I'm going to read here. You said spreading the wealth does not refer to finances, does not always and only refer to finances. It does not mean that to simply give to a slacker who refuses to attempt to make a better life for himself. No, spreading wealth simply means treating others as you would like to be treated. It means when a person does go out to acquire employment, do not consider his skin, color, or gender, but instead of the individual's desire to earn a living for the family, as opposed to taking a handout for the family. So you begin to go on into what this means as far as spreading the wealth. So when you were thinking about that, where were you coming from, I guess, with some of the ideas? Because like you said, we also, when we look at wealth, we always think about finances, but it's so much richer than that.
Yeah, I guess working so long, so many years in corporate America, you see how it's so uneven. Even with those who have the skills, they're not always able to get the same rewards. Or even if you say, okay, let's reach out to this group, give them this charitable donation or good, then you always have the other side that's saying, well, why should we continue to give handouts? So I just think there always needs to be a happy medium, and people don't need to always be so selfish or always be so I think we live in a society that lacks empathy.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's not always about just giving to those
right.
who
It's
don't want to better themselves. Because I will say this from experience, I've gone through things in the past where things were not that great, and you just feel like, man, I don't need a handout. I just need a hand up. I just need help. Assistance getting back on my feet, getting back to where I was, and then I'm good. But oftentimes people don't have that. And I just feel like we just live in a society where if it can just be very me minded. But it goes back to what I said earlier. There has to be like, we have to find like some type of happy medium. Because I will say, like, like I said, working so many years in corporate America, I did see how the scales were so unbalanced.
Right.
In that area.
I was going to say, I think today what's interesting is that, given the movement and the awakening that's happening with our Caucasian sisters and brothers in other cultures, and the company is as far as sexism and racism, that I see companies really trying to do something as far as to, give back into the communities and make a difference, not only with bringing like technology and different trades and skills into communities, but also from the hiring practices, reevaluating their hiring practices and giving opportunities for students at HBCUs and other places to come into those companies, because that's where it starts, right? If you want to change that whole dynamic. So it's good to see from a corporate standpoint that some of those things are starting to change and make an impact.
Yeah, you do see those cultural differences starting to impact corporations now. I think because the pressure has been on, especially these past few months to do something. So yeah, but years ago it was just it wasn't as exposed, I guess, as it is now. So especially like during the time that I wrote the book and working in the financial industry and things like that, you just saw how unbalanced the scales were, and the unfairness and things like that. So I think that's where that came from when I wrote that in the book.
So listen, we have the term LOL, and that's usually laugh out loud, I think, in today's society. So if it's changed, forgive me, Facebook fam, new generation. But I think the LOL is laugh out loud. But here you have lamentations of love.
Yes.
What's going on about these lamentations of love?
I just feel like many times people, and I'm guilty of this myself, you're seeking things from people who don't have it themselves. You can't seek love from someone who doesn't love themselves. You have to be trained to have those core skills, and many times people weren't trained to have those core skills, or sometimes they weren't loved themselves. So you have to basically either accept that that's who the person is, or you have to remove yourself from that situation. I think a lot of times we stay in situations too long. I just love to hate out the person, That's not always the case. I mean, you could show forth love to anybody, but you can't stay in a situation until you love to death. You're the one that ends up dying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so. People say, I was telling somebody, don't love me to death, honey. Love me to life.
Yeah,
because I want to live. I don't want nobody to love me.
Yeah, because that is literally what happens. You can literally love somebody to death, where you either die in the process, or you become an enabler by making the person worse instead of better.
And then you can lose yourself in that sense as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You don't know who you are anymore, or you start to make compromises because the person doesn't like this. The person doesn't like for me to wear black, so I'm not going to wear black anymore. The person doesn't like for me to work this type of job, so I'm not going to do that anymore. You start compromising things that you wouldn't compromise in a normal circumstance, and that's not what love is.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be anyway.
Yeah. One final thing before we move on, and we're going to see if we have any questions. So Facebook fam, I don't know if production team put it out there, but if you have any questions for Ms. Kimberly Cousins, please let us know, and we will ask some questions before we close out for today. But Kim, one of the last things here you talked about was protecting your peace, and I think through it all, you were saying you're not crazy, get up and get your happy back. So you talked about
Okay.
protecting your peace, but as you go through that, as you talk about the peace part of it, I just want you to close out with, what do you feel someone has to do, as you're saying, you're understanding they're not crazy and get that happy back. How do they go through that process?
You have to first be willing to put yourself first. And a lot of people feel like that's something selfish to do, but you can't be a help to anyone else if you're toxic. And sometimes being toxic is not doing what's best for you. You can unknowingly be a toxic person because you haven't taken the time to make yourself better.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the first thing is to sit down and just get to a quiet place to where you can find peace and decide what you want to do. One of the questions I have had to ask myself is, okay, Kim, what do you want to do? What do you want out of life? And those are some difficult decisions to make sometimes because you oftentimes have to separate yourself from some things that are hard to do. Difficult decisions, but decisions that need to be made. So I would say that's the first step, is to decide what you want to do. What do you want out of life? What things have you been holding back because you don't want to offend somebody, you don't want to hurt someone's feelings. You got to get tired of being a sacrificial lamb to make everybody else happy and figure out what you want to do to make yourself happy.
Got
So,
you.
there you go.
So talk to me a little bit. Stop being a sacrificial lamb.
Lamb, yeah.
So there's only one sacrificial lamb, right?
Right. Honey, we ain't it.
And we're not it. No, we cannot hold it. So then
Right.
talk about the importance of like the peace part of it, because I know sometimes, I know me, I'm a A-type personality. I am very, very outgoing, but yet still, even at the same time, I love my quiet and my time away. And sometimes people probably feel like, oh, Michelle just bouncing off the walls all the time. No, no. And there are times as active as I can be and engaged as I can be, when things go awry with me, it's so much craziness that I lose sense of self. My emotional state is turned upside down. And when those things start happening, I stop sometimes. I pause and say, you have to say, what's going on? What's going on? And maybe you have to do like a reset, or something to get that peace back. But you said in this chapter 8 about protecting your peace. Talk to us a little bit about some things you can do or you can recommend to do to protect that peace.
Stop forcing yourself to go into environments where you're not going to be happy. I don't care if it's the holidays, like especially around Christmas and Thanksgiving, we feel like we have to force ourselves to go around toxic people just because they're family. You walk in the door and they step one foot in the door, so stop doing that. I think everybody kind of knows within themselves the things that make them happy or things that bring them peace. Removing yourself from toxic environments is one for me. That's a big one for me. If you enjoy being by yourself, reading a book, if you enjoy getting in your car like I do, I love getting in my car, turning on my music, and just driving out to the country and enjoying the scenery. It's the little things.
Yeah.
You want to take a trip by yourself. It's really many times all about getting by yourself so that you can hear yourself think and so you can hear what God is saying. Because if you can't hear that, then you're going to still continue to make same old bad decisions for yourself. And I'm just speaking out of personal experience. I'm not preaching to anybody. You do whatever you want to do to bring your own self peace. But for me, those are some of the things that I had to do. I had to figure out what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And some of those things I'm still kind of trying to figure out. But each day, each week, each month, each year, I get better and better and better. And that's what you have to do. You have to make those tough decisions and not feel guilty about it, regardless of how anybody else feels about it. And those tough decisions aren't always going to feel good, but sometimes you got to feel bad first so you can feel better in the long run.
Yeah, Kimmy, one of the things my production team is getting on me because I just created some static on the line. Sorry, guys, that was my fault. But I wanted, I guess, as we're going to bring to a close, I was looking to see if you have any questions. So I'm going to go on. Just thinking, I am divorcee, and and I think about being divorced or being single women that's raising their children, and some of the things that we have to take on. So when I was looking at your topic here, as far as the title of your big book, You're Not Crazy, and I know when I got it, I remember when you wrote it and I got it, I was just so excited because I was like, it was confirmation with me through some things that I've gone through, because I felt during those years that I was freaking crazy, right?
Right.
That I
Right.
was losing it because my entire life was turned upside down, right? And whatever my norms were ended up changing, and the friends that I had in my life or thought were friends actually kind of end up disappearing. And it's an interesting thing when it deals with divorce and relationships, where they kind of disappeared, and they went through their challenges as well, because it's something that they didn't expect, and then it's something that I wasn't expecting, but it happened, right? And so I was really thinking I was crazy because of all the things now I had to start over and do. And I'm saying that as a single woman now that's independent and caring for myself. In that relationship that I was in, I considered myself independent. However, there were things that I did not wasn't aware of and didn't have to take care of, and all of a sudden I had to start taking care of those things. And so I just want to encourage single women that's out there today, or women that's divorced and having to start over, that you're not crazy, and that you can do it, and you can move out of your some of the emotional state and some of the trauma that you've gone through, and you can start your life back over, as you said, get up and get that happy back. And it's a choice. You were saying it's a choice, right? That you have to make. Because I could have sat in and wallowed in everything that I went through. Some of you know my story, the loss of my kids and things like that. All of this happening at the same time, like years right after each other, back to back. Anybody else would be locked up somewhere, and I'm sure there was moments I broke. There was moments I was really like crazy, should have been certified. But God, and being able to bring me out. So I'm saying that I'm a testimony, and I know, Kimmy, you are, for women that's out there that's struggling, that's having challenges, that have gone through situations that you didn't expect. You are not crazy. You can get your life back. And you have to, I think, Kim, one of the things you have to love, it's about loving yourself. You got to love yourself.
Yeah, you can't always harp on what someone else did to you.
Mm-hmm.
We all have those stories, but I think the key ingredient in getting better is to figuring out what you want and figuring out what it takes for you to move on. Because what it may take for you to move on may not take for me to move on. So you can't be judgmental about people either and their choices of what they what it takes for them to move on. The choices that they make to move on, I should say. Each person is different. You are different, and so regardless of what's happened, it's like we said earlier, you cannot go back and change what someone did to you.
Yeah.
Going forward, you can only make the decision on how you're going to get better, how you're going to move forward, how you're going to react to it. And bitterness is not the answer.
Yeah.
So in order to get happy, you have to say, you know what, regardless of what happened, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to take this class. I want to go work out. I want to, read my Bible more. I mean, I don't know what it is, but whatever it takes for you to get better, could be a culmination of things. It doesn't have to be just one thing. Then you take the steps to do that, and don't feel guilty about it. It's not always easy, because like I said, sometimes you may have to separate yourself from some things and some people, but you gotta do what you gotta do.
And do what you gotta do. And sometimes that might be like me just chilling with a nice glass of Moscato at night with a little bit of jazz playing, honey.
That's your happy place.
That's my happy place. Dancing around like I was last night, dancing around in my upstairs. I was just dancing all around by myself, and I said, Lord, these people in the neighborhood probably think I'm crazy, but I was getting my happy back, honey.
Yeah, and see, I love doing that too, putting on some music. It just makes me happy, like my favorite songs, and my favorite music, my favorite artists. Whatever makes you happy. Sometimes when you come to town and we just go out.
Yeah.
To get a bite to eat and just giggle about nothing.
Yeah.
So whatever takes.
Whatever it takes. And
Yeah.
that I think that's it. Doesn't have to be anything monumental. And I think even in the trying different things, I went to the mountains for vacation, and I went on this obstacle course. I went on an obstacle course. So, up there I had the helmet and all of everything tied over me, and I actually, the gear on and everything. And I did that. And so it was like trying different things. So sometimes we can be in so many states that try to put us in depression, but sometimes you just have to just Google some things and just say, I'm going to be adventurous and try something different, right?
Yeah. Something different,
Yeah.
Break yourself out of that comfort zone. Go have some fun, write down some goals and actually, start to complete them. Check them off one by one. Start off with something small and just, go up to something, whatever.
Yeah. Good
Yeah,
stuff. Oh, Kimmy, this has been a great session. It's been a great conversation today. The Right Touch with Kimberly Cousins. She is the owner and operator of Right Touch Publication, ghostwriter, and she also is a publisher. So Facebook fam, you guys that are in the process of writing or you didn't know how to start and what to do as far as writing, please reach out to her, and she will be able to give you a consultation to work through it and figure out where you are and how you want to move from today. So and she can talk to you about all the details as far as the steps and the processes to get your work published. All right, and then of course her presentation on how to write a book and how to get started. And then of course she is an author herself, so please take a look out for Kimmy on Amazon.com and make sure you order her work so you can be able to get your happy back and find out some of the good juicy details that's in here. So we can't highlight a few things, but there's some good stuff in here, guys. So you get the juicy details about how you get up and get your happy back. It's very challenging, and I think that's what I liked about the book, Kimmy, because it challenges you to look inside, but it also gives you some instructions of what you can do to work out of that, right? From the inside out. Yeah.
That's right, because I was really embarrassed about some of the things that I went through, but that was another reason why I went ahead and wrote the book, because at the time I was like, man, I can't even believe I allowed myself to get in that situation, And so I was just so embarrassed, like, oh girl, Lord, child. But there are a lot, I'm not the only one, because when I wrote the book, women, they started reaching out to me.
Yes.
Oh my God, I can't believe you went through that. So stuff in there,
You're right, Kimmy. I look back too, and I'm like, what? There's things that you make decisions. It is what it is, but it's all a part. It's all a part of the journey. And I remember my niecey, Portia, Shay was on, and this is my second time bringing this up, but I love and I won't quote it like she said it, but she was like, sometimes you just gotta give yourself permission, to forgive yourself, and just let it be. The thing is, you went through what you went through, and that was necessary, for you to go through that thing, and you can't be so hard on yourself, right?
You can't be embarrassed for life.
You can't be embarrassed. It's like, and I think, we all know the bishop that used to say this, I tell on myself and shout.
Yeah, there you go. I told on myself.
I'll tell on myself and shout first. So, you're not going to hold anything that I have done in my past over my head. I will tell on myself first and shout. And if you get to it before I do, I will say, yeah, I did it. And what? Okay.
That's right. And what?
And what?
Too late to change it. It is what it is.
You're not going to take my habit back. You're not going to take my habit from me. No, you are not. So that's enough.
Get your habit back.
Yeah, and it's too much embarrassment, embarrassing and things like that. Things happen. Shoot, life happened. You deal with it and you keep moving on. Forgive yourself and stop holding all these things against yourself. You did what you did. Okay, now keep moving. Don't do it anymore. Try not to anyway. Keep going forward, right? Yes. Well, Kimmy, I think I'm going to go ahead and bring this to a close. This has been a great conversation. Thank you for just sharing this moment with me. I love you so much, my dear sister friend. You are truly my sister. And I just thank God for you have held me down and been there with me through so much. And I'm so blessed to have you a part of my life. And
thank you.
So I'm excited, but for some things in the future. I know you're working on some stuff with some other people. And so hopefully we can have you back and maybe another guest as you're doing some things out here, some big things.
Okay.
You're making some big things and making some big moves. So, love, I love you so much. So before we go, do you have one final thing you would like to say to our Facebook fam before we close today?
Get rid of the embarrassment and get up and get your happy back.
Woo woo! You heard it! You heard it! You heard it from Kimmy. Get up and get your happy back. Maybe my brother and Tina can write a jingle about that.
Oh yeah, that'll be a good one.
Write a little song about that. Get up and get your happy back. Okay, guys. Okay, guys. So it has been great. Again, we've had Kimberly with us, and we've had a wonderful time this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining Conversations with Shelly. Always remember, we'll be here on Sundays at 5 o'clock p.m., and I will be your host, Michelle Sanders, better known as Shelly. So I'm so excited because we have had Miss Kimberly Cousin with us today, and I'm sure our production team has shared her information. And if you have any questions, that even as you go back and listen to this conversation, please put the questions there. Kimmy will reach out to you. If you're someone that's a writer and you're interested in writing, or you want to know how to start the process, reach out to Kimberly. She will assist you. And then, as she said, she's a ghostwriter as well. She's still doing that. So I tell you, she can write. I'm telling you guys. So, you know, if you're kind of like me and don't know how to put everything together, you put some stuff together, put it over, send it over to Kimmy, and when it comes back, it's like, voila. It's a miracle. But Kimmy, thank you again for joining us at Conversations with Shelly, and Facebook fam, thank you as well
Thank you
for joining in
for tuning
today.
in, everybody.
Yes, thank you guys. So have a wonderful afternoon. This is Shelly signing off. Remember that I love you, but God loves you best. Bye-bye.